A really quick one here. Heady, headed, headed two. Said I'm accusing Lee Anderson of a lack of respect for Cara Voiderman, and Headed says a lack of disrespect. While I enjoy most of your posts, you should look in the mirror about your own comments on this one. Uh, Absolutely, I should. I have complete disrespect, and I ridicule and satirize people in power. Carol Voiderman is not a person in power. She is being abused simply because she is a woman who has questioned the uh, the importance of Lee Anderson, who is in power. Suella Braverman, similarly. It is, I believe, my job as a member of the public with a small, modest platform to satirize, to poke fun, to cock a snook at people in authority. That is not a lack of respect. That's called satire. It goes back to, well, it goes back a long way, but I see it very much in the tradition of James Gilroy, in the tradition of Gerald Scarfe, in the tradition of the that was the week that was, and so on. I see my purpose in life to draw crazy cartoons, to make crazy comments about people in power. Because if the opposition is not doing the job properly, then and if the traditional media is not doing the job properly, then it falls to other people like me to come up to the mark. So, sorry if you think that my comments about Suella Braverman are unkind. They're intended to be. They're intended to poke and pinprick. And similarly, while Matt Hancock maintains his position in the House of Commons, I will maintain my approach. And as for Nadine Dorries has resigned, so I thought that Nadine Dorries was off my radar. But of course, the fact that she has a book coming up, and that book is all about perpetuating the myth of Boris Johnson, a sort of hagiography, then I'm afraid she is still fair game. But I am very clear, I'm afraid, of what I'm doing. And yes, and I will use whatever tricks I think are available, and most of those, I'm afraid, I am terribly derivative. I go back to the 1960s. I go back to Frankie Howerd, and I go back to the music hall, because I think that's where, in British humour, we honed our skills at really good satire, right the way back to the Crimean War. You know, there's a wonderful song during the time of the Crimean War. And we'll never let them take Constantinople. It's and at the same time, you had the great Tenniel, who illustrated Alice in Wonderland, flexing his pen and being quite lethal in the drawings that he produced week after week after week for the pages of Punch. Sometimes they were sort of so elaborate you had to fold them out of the pages. And I've got some of the volumes which he had printed just of his illustrations. They are mind-bogglingly brilliant. If you want to see them in action, you go to the 1960s film of The Charge of the Light Brigade, where Richard Williams, the stupendous animator, brought these things to life as a commentary on what was in effect an anti-war film, but as a commentary on the live-action film, and it is it's a harrowing film, and those moments of humour, vicious humour, are very necessary as a counterpoint. When I was 11, I wrote to Richard Williams and a fan letter, and he very kindly invited me up to his studio, and we remained in contact until he died. And I think not only was he a spectacular draftsman and a fundamentally brilliant teacher of animation, but he was also, in his own right, a very fine filmmaker and a thoughtful filmmaker. And I remember discussing some really interesting projects, which of course never came to life. One of which was his plans to animate the Epic of Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh is really the first point at which I think in civilization we have a story where we're questioning our place in the world as human beings, facing the enormity of nature, the enormity of the universe, and Gilgamesh faces it with humor, and we should do no less.